When we were looking for a scope for our new Bergara MgMicro Lite and 6.5 PRC, we came across the Element Helix HDLR 2:16 by 50 second focal plane scope. This is going to be the ideal scope for this type of hunting scenario. In this video, we're going to get it out of the box. We're going to cover features and specs. We're going to put it on our optics test rig. We're going to take it out and shoot it with the MgMicro Lite. This is going to be an awesome video. Hey guys, Gavin Gill here from UltimateReloader.com. This year, the team at Ultimate Reloader has become huge fans of Element optics. They've got great crystal clear glass. They've got some really great features like toolless adjustments of the turrets to reset your zero and your zero stop. And the fit and finish is just absolutely awesome. We've covered Theos, we've covered Nexus Gen 2. We've had them on multiple rifles, multiple projects. Now we've got Helix HDLR, and this is just going to be the perfect complement to our MgMicro Lite. Let's get this out of the box and see what's included. So here it is. Very nice packaging, as we've come to expect with Element Optics. This was kind of a nice surprise. This has a lot of the features that I'm used to with our other scopes from Element, but we've got this nice rubber cap with the bungees on it that's going to protect the scope. This is the first time looking through it. Very nice. But we've also got these shoot-through flip-up caps. How cool is that? So we can literally see through the scope without taking the caps off if we need to take a quick shot in the field while we're hunting, and then we can also flip them up. How cool is that? Seriously, I love that. So this scope has a 30mm tube. It's got HD glass. It's got an 8x zoom range from 2 to 16. It's second focal plane, so that's going to keep the reticle at the same proportions. The only downside of that is that we're not going to be able to use the holdover marks, those subtensions, at all zoom ranges, right? It's the trade-off, but we're going to be able to see it, and that's pretty important with a closer range rifle like this that we might use in the brush, that sort of thing. It also comes with a sunshade. That is always a nice option. We shoot into the sun quite a bit here in different shooting circumstances, and it's got a throw lever, which is removable, and it's got actually a plug in there right now, so I'm going to wait to put that on. We've got the thread protector for the windage threads, the windage cap threads that we can put in place so that we can dial out in the field and not worry about damaging those threads. And then of course it's got the familiar Element toolless adjustments for the turrets. So we can take off this thumb screw here, the cap. We can take this off, reset our zero stop, and re-zero the scope, and we're back in business. How cool is that? I really, really like that feature. Smooth zoom. Another thing I really like about Element, I don't like excessively stiff zoom rings. That's magnification rings. That's just always an irritation if that happens to be the case. Illuminated reticle as well, which is super cool. So the battery compartment should be over here on this side. There we go. We'll get a battery in that, and we'll include a view for you to see what that looks like when we get this on the optics test rig. So far really impressed. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take these AccuLite rings. These are 30mm medium height rings. That should work well with the rifle. Again, 30mm tube on this scope. We'll get it mounted to the MgMicro Lite and take it out into the field. Well, here it is. I decided to put the Helix HDLR on the MgMicro Lite. This is chambered in 6.5 PRC. This is a heck of a lot of rifle in a small package. It's got a Cure Carbon barrel. This is an 18-inch barrel. It's got the XLR Atom magnesium chassis. This thing is compact. It comes in at 5.9 pounds. The 308 Winchester and 6.5 Creedmoor are 5.7 pounds. It's got a folder, a carbon buttstock. It's got a carbon grip, 3-round AICS magazine. The mag catch is adjustable height. It's got ARCA built in. Like, this is just a really cool compact form factor rifle, and I felt like a 2-16 power scope like the Helix HDLR would be a great complement for it. And so what I did was I found a 30 MOA rail that I had from Bergara. I got blue Loctite on the screws, got those torqued down, and then I put these AccuLite ring bases on. So this is the 30 millimeter medium height AccuLite rings from Element. I've had really good luck with them, really good fit and finish. The screws tighten nicely, there's no binding, right? A lot of those QC issues that I look for in these kinds of rings. They're very minimalist, which I thought would be great on a lightweight rifle. And so got the scope installed, took a little bit to just fine tune where I wanted my eye relief to be. And what I do for that is I typically max out my power, get behind the rifle like I'm shooting off the bench roughly, and then work the scope forward and backwards in the rings until I get that perfect centered up eye relief, right? Where you wait for it to start to get obscured close and far and find that middle spot basically. And I think in this case I had to bump the rings forward in the process. This is really worth taking your time to do and do right. Once I got the eye relief set, I put the caps on, got things hand tight, got my reticle level, and then torqued everything down. And so I really like the way that this came together. I also, as you can see, installed the sunshade and the throw lever. And so now I'm basically ready to rock and roll. So I took it to our 100-yard range. I did a bore sight on it. And like the other scopes from Element that we've reviewed, the Theos and the Nexus Gen 2, you can do toolless elevation sight in. It's not quite as simple to set the zero stop. I actually have it removed at this moment. But to set the zero is super easy. And then for the windage, if we take the windage cap off, this is a more conventional setup where you use a coin or a straight slot screwdriver to remove this screw and it just pops off and goes back on. And we can leave the cap off the windage and use the thread protector there on those cap threads. So a really nice setup. It didn't take long to get on target, got everything zeroed out and went and did some shooting. So I shot some groups at 100 yards and found the scope to be really nice to use. Again, this is second focal plane, which I'm not as used to. You can zoom all the way in, zoom all the way out, and your reticle stays the same proportions and the same scale. What you do need to keep in mind is that your holdover marks with subtensions are only accurate for holdover at, in this case, max power. We've got the red 16 here. So there's always a magnification setting where a second focal plane will have accurate holdover, subtensions, dots, whatever it has, and just know that that is something that you need to keep in mind if you're doing field shooting. And so we then took this scope and rifle up to the ridgeline, did a little bit of shooting off the tripod, and again, I just found it really easy to use. And for a hunting scenario, which I intend this rifle to be used for, I think it would be super good for that. Okay, so running through some of the specs. MSRP on this is $639.99, and I did look online and you'll find that for a bit less from retailers if you're looking for a deal. Magnification, 2-16, right? I really like that 2 power on the wide and low magnification side if you're hunting, because you're just gonna be able to pull it up and almost use it like iron sights. Really easy to acquire the target. Love this silky smooth magnification ring. 50 millimeter objective. Keep that in mind when you order scope rings or a one-piece scope mount, because you're gonna need to keep that in mind. That does mean that you can go a little bit lower than something like a larger objective would allow for, right? Tube diameter is 30 millimeter. I indicated that I used the 30 millimeter rings. Really easy to find, 30 millimeter mounts and rings. 4 inches of eye relief, 10th mil clicks on elevation and on windage. It's 13.39 inches long without the sunshade, and it weighs 27.1 ounces. So let's talk about the reticle. This is the APR 1C reticle. APR stands for all-purpose reticle. This on this model is illuminated as well, which is a really nice capability to have. It's mil scale. What I like about it is it's really clean. There's not a lot that's going to obscure your view or distract you, but you do have your holdover marks. Just keep in mind with second focal plane, those are only going to be accurate at max magnification for this particular scope, right? And the illumination is something that we do use at Ultimate Reloader. We have illuminated targets that we can shoot at night, and without an illuminated reticle, that can be really, really difficult. So I appreciate having that option on the scope. We've got quite a few different settings that we can go through, and it has on-off half positions, which is really awesome as well. Right, so I'm seeing 6 positions there, and it's very clear in our testing. It came up just really nice and is super easy to see, and having those different intensity levels will help you ramp up or ramp down the illumination intensity based on the light level that you're looking through. So during our testing, we took the scope off the Bergara MgMicro Lite and put it on the Ultimate Reloader optics test rig. We call it the OTR internally. So this tests actual optical performance at 100 yards. It's not for optics quality. It doesn't really show you as clear or as nice a picture as you'll see when you look through the naked eye, but it does simulate all of the mechanical movements and attributes that are key and critical. So we've got mil and MOA targets for 100 yards that are calibrated for mil and MOA movements. We can position our camera less than a 0.5 of an inch. Very, very accurate camera movement capabilities, and that's along X, Y, and Z, plus rotating the camera. So we can get this camera perfectly dialed in behind the scope and do things like tracking, zoom, parallax, and distortion. A really great capability that's exclusive to Ultimate Reloader. Okay, so the first thing that we did was to test tracking. And I'll have to say the results were absolutely impeccable and spot on in the up, right, and left directions. Like, this is one of the best results that we've seen. For some strange reason, when we went down 3 mil, it was slightly off, but usually you're going to be dialing up, so I can't think of how that would even be an issue. It was just something that we noted. Very, very good tracking results with the Helix HDLR. For parallax, we took the camera and moved it 50 thousandths of an inch to the left, back to the middle, 50 thousandths of an inch to the right, back to the middle. And as you can see here, we had very little parallax when we had the parallax setting set to 100 yards. So that's a great result as well. In terms of image distortion, this is really easy to capture because we just take a frame from pretty much any of the video clips and then draw a rectangle inside of that and look for barrel distortion, pin cushion effects, or any kind of skew, anything like that. And as you can see here, everything is nice and straight, no distortion that I could see whatsoever. Okay, in terms of reticle alignment, that's also something that we get essentially for free with the video footage here. And here you can see a frame from the video, and you can see how the vertical and horizontal lines are perfectly overlapping the vertical and horizontal lines on the test target. And what I do to set this up, just so that you know, is I get a precision machinist level and I level the target on the backer board and clamp it in place. I then go to the support for the camera and level the camera exactly the same with the same level. And then I level the scope body. So the camera is looking straight, the scope is where it should be straight in terms of the reticle to body alignment, and the target is perfectly level as well and straight, and all three should agree. And as you can see here, they definitely do. So reticle alignment was spot on. And here's another frame showing the illuminated reticle and what you'll see if you look through the scope in the pitch dark. Just a good clean reticle. The illumination settings were excellent. I looked at them in various lighting conditions and found that this is going to be a great dusk, dawn, or night scope for sure. So we've had some experiences with the Helix HDLR, both on the optics test rig, shooting off the bench, and in the field. And I'll have to say, I really like the scope. I think it represents great value for money. Element is a company that we're very aligned with in terms of design philosophy. Love the toolless design that you get. Love the illuminated reticle on this scope. And it's great to have second focal scopes in the portfolio for those times when you know you're going to need to mag way out and you don't want to lose your reticle completely, right? And that's why I think it makes a great hunting setup, depending on what you're doing, right? If you're making wind calls at intermediate magnification values and you're shooting long range, you might want a first focal plane scope. It's your choice. And as you can see here, there are different options and configurations within the Helix family that you can choose from, including the 2 to 16 by 50 second focal, which we've got here, including the 4 to 16 by 44, which is a first focal, and they have 6 to 24 by 50 options in either first focal or second focal, right? So there's a lot of different choices, and I'd be curious to know what you think is the best option for you within this Helix family, right? I really like the HDLR 2 to 16. It's been working really good for us, and I think we're going to end up using this scope quite often. So again, what I'd like to know from you is, what do you think of this scope, and what other scopes within this family lineup would you kind of gravitate towards? If you have a Helix HDLR, what are you using it on? What kind of rifle, and how are you using it? Are you hunting? Are you target shooting? I'd love to know. Drop a comment and we'll start that discussion in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel, or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. Thanks again for watching.